everybody, everybody. My name is everybody. My name is my name is my name is Danny. This is my vlog, which is an of course, an abbreviation for video blog or video log. It's just a video blog where I kind of talk about anything, whatever's on my mind, what I feel like talking about, just venting, things that interest me. Maybe there's something that I wanted to talk about during the last week, during the today, the hour, the minute, the second, or whatever. Yeah, so today is, what's today? Today is Thursday, August 3, 2017. It is 3:54 p.m. here. Yeah. So I was sort of looking over some of my past vlogs and sort of always looking as to ways I can improve it. If you've never done one of these, it's kind of like doing a speech in front of people where it's not really that easy. So I've noticed that even though I had intentions of talking about different things or things that were on my mind, when you hit that record button, you tend to, it's quite possible that you're not going to remember everything, and then you're going to forget, and then you're going to stumble or whatever. So I thought that I'm going to improve this time, and I'm going to write things down, which is this. So today is a new location. I'm at Wishing Well Park. So this is Wishing Well Park. This is in St. John's here, in St. John's, Newfoundland. And I'm going to give you a little 360 to show you my surrounding here in a second. Okay, so there's basically, this is a really big sort of area because there's basically two soccer fields, and the two soccer fields are full fields, and there's two baseball fields or softball fields, and there's two baseball softball fields, two of those fields. So I'm going to show you a little give a little 360 here. And I've said this before, but this here is this is on selfie mode, so I can't really see what I'm focused on, so it's kind of hard. But yeah, so that's my bike. The fencing. So like I said, there's two adjoining soccer fields. So basically side by side there. And then there's a baseball field that's way out back there, and that baseball field way out back, and there were people playing there, and I think they still are. And then there's the baseball field that's right here, right in front of me, and they were playing. I think they just finished now. But yeah, that's one huge fence that goes up there, isn't it? That must have been really hard to get there. So a little 360 here, and I'm gonna do it one more time. Yeah, fencing, two soccer fields, baseball field in the back, baseball field in front of me, big fence, stuff down there. I don't really know what that is because I'm not really from here. Okay. Okay, start the time here so I don't go over. Okay, yeah, so I just picked some topics that are of interest to me. Maybe they're of interest to other people, trending topics. If you guys feel like you want to talk about something, or you want me to talk about something, I'm open from it, because there's things that interest me, it may not connect with you. So if you want me to talk about something, just let me know. So like leave a comment, send me a message, whatever. Okay. First thing, soccer. I organize soccer pickup games. So I just wanted to talk about that. Our last soccer pickup was on Monday. That Monday time is an excellent time to have it because it was a good turnout. There was lots of running, hustling, very challenging. The passing and shooting was a bit off. The dribbling was good. The multicolored shirts won. The multicolored shirts won 12-9. So at some point in the game, we set the winning number to 12, which is why there's that 12. So the multicolored shirts ended up winning 12 to around 9, if I remember. And 12-9 actually is a very high score for soccer. If you watch the pros, you know, the soccer scores tend to be maybe like 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, maybe 3-1. So 12-9, that's saying something. Like, I think that's okay because it just makes things more exciting, right? No major injuries, and there was excellent soccer weather. Next thing, I want to talk about Neymar. So I guess Neymar wants to transfer from Barcelona to PSG. Personally, I really don't know why. Obviously, he has his own reasons. He's not telling anyone, and it's quite early. I think it just went to the media yesterday. The analysts are saying that PSG is going to have to pay $26 million for him. That's a huge amount of money. I think, if I'm not wrong, that's either the biggest amount of money for a soccer player or the biggest amount of money for any athlete ever. That's huge. I just want to make a comment that it's funny because the owners of PSG are rich people from Qatar. It's funny because, sorry, I like to play soccer. I don't tend to watch other people play, so if I'm wrong with some of the details, I apologize. PSG is a team that's based in France, I believe. So it is strange that the owners are from Qatar, right? Which is a completely different, really almost continent, right? You think that a team in France would be owned by people from France. But that's the dilemma, is that they're saying that the league may not allow it to deter player buyouts, but they will probably find a loophole. Yeah, so that's interesting. Next thing I wanted to talk about was the Royal St. John's Regatta. So the Royal St. John's Regatta, it is a huge event here in the St. John's area in Newfoundland. It's basically rowing, okay. I didn't go again because I'm just not interested enough in rowing. It's the same thing when the Olympics. It's the same thing when the Olympics come around every 4 years, and there's always all kinds of rowing and kayaking and all that, sculling, whatever. It's just something I could never get into. Anyways, this is the 199th annual. This is interesting because they're saying that this is the oldest sporting event ever in all of North America. So the 199, that's a lot of years, okay? So next year it's the 200th, and they're saying they're going to look for something interesting to do for the 200th. maybe bring in some royalty, you know, prince, princess, queen, king, whatever. That's kind of interesting. I wanted to talk about the George Street Festival. The George Street Festival is sort of like a few days or a week-long event that it's basically music, mostly music and other things, but mostly music and bands. The only thing I would have been interested in would have been Chilliwack. Now, Chilliwack is an 80s band. They've always been so good, and it's so great to see these like 80s bands that were so popular just still be around. However, I would only go and pay to see Chilliwack if they were an opening act. My opinion is that they're not good enough to be a sole act. To me, in my mind, they're only good enough to be an opening act. That's just my opinion. And they also have Blue Rodeo was the other one, but although Blue Rodeo was a great Canadian band, for me, they're just too mellow for me, so that's why I didn't go to that either. Another music interest, Lady Gaga started her tour in Vancouver, British Columbia, and she's an excellent performer. Boy, it's getting a little warm here. I'm gonna get a drink of water. Good water. Okay. And just before I forget, yeah, like we play soccer, and those two pitches that I see here at Wishing Well, they're excellent. So that might be another option also. But I tend to pick the other one because its location is close to mine, and most of our players are MUN students who tend to want to and live around MUN, and a lot of us don't have cars, so we can just walk there. So it's very convenient. I don't know if Wishing Well is not that far from mine, but it's a little further, so I don't know if people would want to do that extra walk. But anyways, so there's this new the U.S. President Trump. So much talk about him. You know, you watch like all the news networks, all they do is talk about him 24/7. I just want to say it is interesting. Especially all these new controversies with the Russians and stuff like that. For me, I think that a lot of the U.S. president's problem is he's appointing family members. That's generally a bad concept to do. Like, you kind of want to always avoid, when you're in any type of profession or business, you don't ever want to appoint family members into your professional life, into your business or whatever, because your family, you have all these connections, emotional connections, bloodlines, relationships, and then you have your business, which is fiscal, financial, and you're trying to mix everything up, and it's just a bad mix. And like, if it ever comes down to like Donald Trump, the president, for example, having to fire his son-in-law, I think his name is Jared Kushner or something like that. That's going to be a very awkward time for him, believe me, when he has to fire his own son-in-law. So you want to avoid. It's just common sense. No one tends to talk about it, but you should never appoint like family members in your business, and I don't know why he wants to do that, but he's sort of always been like that. He should have been smarter to know that when you're in politics and in that higher office, that's just a thing that you don't want to do. I want to talk about Air Canada. So Air Canada and WestJet are making a profit now. It's funny because they're saying that it's really hard for airline companies to make any profit for whatever reason. And so it's surprising because they're saying that more recently these two airline companies, Air Canada and WestJet in Canada, are making a profit. Really, it's basically due to a lack of competition, right? I mean, if you only have two airlines, and as customers, Canadians, we have no other choice, they're gonna make money. And they're saying that we need more competition, we need more airlines, but the analysts are saying that's not gonna happen anytime soon. Like, there may be some companies within Air Canada and WestJet, but no new independent competitors, which sucks for customers. Next, Sears is going out of business. It's really their own fault. It's weird because, like, I think the history of Sears, it's an American-based company, but it's been in Canada forever. And growing up with Sears, it's very disappointing to see another, like, flagship company just go out of business like that. But it's really their own fault. I mean, people say that Sears is just horrible. Their customer service sucks. They're not competitive. They never stock things. It was just the other week I went in there, and that whole feeling, I felt like I walked into an empty warehouse. And, like, the employees were just so horrible. They were nowhere to be found. When I did find one, they were just, like, slouched over some of the furniture, gossiping about whatever. I had to almost, like, bend over backwards to get someone to even just answer one of my questions. Like, horrible. I mean, they did it to themselves. It's funny because they were saying that when they were in the process of sort of going through the bankruptcy and going into that direction, they were desperate to come up with these ideas. And then, you know, like, the Canadian government was giving them money, and they came up with this idea that they were going to offer groceries at Sears, just like Walmart does. I've been at Sears, like I said, like a few weeks ago or whatever, and there were no groceries. I don't think that's going to happen. I just want to talk about groceries at Walmart. they have groceries at Walmart. When they came up with that idea, I hated it. Even now, I hate that concept of offering, like, groceries or food items at, like, a retail store like that. It's just, I hate it when retail stores try to mix up, like, retail items with, like, especially grocery items or food items. I mean, you can just, like, think of, like, going to Walmart and buying a shirt. You hope it's a nice shirt. Maybe it's a little, you spent your hard-earned money, maybe it's a little cheaper because it's at Walmart. You accidentally, normally you put your shirt on the counter to get it checked out, like you normally do, and then you get home and it's all full of strawberry smudges, you know, chocolate smudges, you know, crumbs, ketchup, whatever, because, you know, people were hauling their groceries through that counter or that area, right? It's just that concept. It's kind of like Dominion. Like, I don't really like Sobeys groceries here for many reasons. So people say, oh, well, what's the alternative? Is Dominion. Like, yeah, sure, the groceries at Dominion is okay, but Dominion is trying to adopt this concept of, like, broadening out to offer every sort of item, right? So you go into grocery, Dominion, they literally offer everything, right? Hot hockey nets, hockey equipment, you know, you name it, clothes, shirts, you know. If I want to go groceries, I just want groceries. And I like, groceries is a tough business. And I like a grocery business to really focus and on groceries, right? And not waste their time on selling, you know, all these other items. I wanted to talk about the thing about Colin Kaepernick and Megan Rapinoe. Okay, so Colin Kaepernick first. So he's this, like, for those who don't know, he's this NFL quarterback, and he's African American. And last season or so, during their national anthem at the beginning, he would, like, in the middle of the national anthem, he would just kneel down, right? And that was his way of protesting for Black Lives Matter, right? BLM. The thing about that is, like, my opinion about that is that I think that even if you're a professional athlete, you have the right, and you should, if you have personal beliefs, whatever, right? So if you're passionate about finding a cure to cancer, or finding a cure to diabetes, or whatever it is, or it could be anything, that's fine, but you do that in your own time. Like, you do that in your own personal life, right? Like, you don't mix that up with the professional sport, right? So for him, I feel like he's using the team to promote his own self-interest. And those self-interests, the Black Lives Matter, are definitely important, but in that for his cause, the Black Lives Matter issue that he's promoting has nothing to do with football. It has nothing to do with the team that he's playing for, right? So it wouldn't even be so bad even if he would have kneeled down or something, if he was protesting maybe, like, player salaries or NFL player conditions or something like that. But he's, like, bringing up something that has sort of nothing to do with, like, the football team or the football game that he's playing, right? I mean, there are connections, but for what he wants. So I don't agree with it. And the fact that, like, he's undrafted and nobody wants him still, no team is picking him up still, they agree with me. And it's the same thing with Megan Rapinoe, right? So months ago or whatever, same thing. During in the middle of the national anthem, she kneeled down. I guess she is I want to use my words carefully I want to try to be politically correct here with my terminology. I think she is a lesbian, and so her thing is that she wants to protest people not treating people of the LGBTQ community, which is her community, that she feels that they're being treated badly. Same thing, right? So same thing as my previous example, why I don't agree that should happen. I think that she has every right to do that in her own time. Again, it sort of has no connection to the soccer game, the soccer team. It's a distraction, and she should be able to do it, however, in her own time, her own personal life, like not in the middle of a national anthem. And again, the U.S. Soccer Committee, they didn't say anything at the beginning, right? They could have punished her right away. They didn't say anything for a few months. They let her do it, right? But the last thing that happened was they issued a public statement. The U.S. Soccer offered a public statement that said all athletes must respect the national anthem when it's played, right? So they're just covering their butt and saying, you know, if she keeps doing it, and then if they have to, you know, kick her off the team or whatever, they're covering their butt for lawsuits or whatever. And I agree with U.S. Soccer, right? And Megan Rapinoe took it very welcoming. She made a public statement. She said she respects their decision and she will follow that, right? So also wanted to talk about a little bit of entertainment now, a little less serious stuff. So I just watched the latest season of House of Cards. Just watched the latest season of Orange is the New Black. Yeah, maybe I'm a little later than usual, than most of you. The thing about these two series, in my opinion, is that they were so great or so good in the beginning because they're so new and different and it's exciting and the cast is great and the plot line is great. But even though they're a little unique where they're only broadcast on Netflix, they're still kind of considered like a show. They're still based on the TV show sort of structure, right? Meaning like they're still considered like whether it's like the Cosby Show or Seinfeld or Miami Vice or any type of like sitcom TV show, right? And the thing about TV shows is that every TV show has like a lifespan, and once that lifespan peaks, most people agree that you sort of just want to end it on a good note, because once you go past that limit of lifespan, it just gets embarrassing for everybody and it just becomes worse for everybody, and ultimately it gets canceled on a very sour note, and you don't want to end on a bad note and ruin it for everybody, right? If you take, for example, Seinfeld, right? One of the highest rated TV shows ever, every season, including the last one, you know, they were smart enough to end the show when they did, right? Same thing as like the old 80s Miami Vice or the Good Wife or whatever. So that's the problem with House of Cards and Orange is the New Black, is that they're definitely quite a bit beyond that. They need to wrap up and move on. And House of Cards, like this last season, I literally like fell asleep I can't believe how many times, literally in the middle of an episode. That's how boring I thought. That's how boring that I thought so many of those episodes were. Really boring, like nothing happening, no plot line left, like just using the same small character cast that you get sick of, right? It's kind of like Orange is the New Black. I'm gonna try my best not to give out any spoilers, but for those who know what I'm talking about, that plot line, it's sort of like if you've watched any other type of show or movie that's always sort of a subplot of a subplot of a subplot line, right? So for them to like take that subplot of a subplot, it's like they're so desperate and they spread it out through a whole season, right? Which was 10 or 12 episodes, right? Like that's just desperation to like take a subplot like that and stretch it out 12 long shows into a whole season, where basically in that last season really nothing happened except for, you know, what happened, right? So very boring, and nothing happened, similar, right? Complete waste of my time. I think what happens is that sort of personally, when I start something, I like to finish it, just like anything. I don't like to quit things. And so I got kind of like stuck with this, or pulled into this, where I started watching the shows and I like them, and so I feel compelled to like watch them to the end, even though the last few seasons have sucked for me. And it's stupid because I'm wasting my time, but they're so mainstream. Those two are so mainstream where everyone watches them, so it's kind of like when everyone's talking about it, you want to have you want to be part of the conversation, right? So you don't want to be left out, or you don't want to feel like you're missing out on something. So that's my take on that. Okay, so I'm just going to finish and say, so I graduated from a school called Moncton High School, and very unique high school for many different reasons. Like architecturally, just magnificent, and it's very historical, and it goes way back. It's such a very old building, an old beautiful building, and a few years ago, due to age, the safety concerns were where the inspectors felt that the students and teachers couldn't be in there anymore because the building was getting too old and it was becoming unsafe. So they had to move them out of that school, and so the students were like in junior highs around this town, and then they finally like built a brand new school, which is great. It took them a while, but that new Moncton High School was built, and they're all in it, and it's an amazing school. It's much better. It's how many million, whatever. So there was much speculation as to like what to do with the old Moncton High School, and for people who went to that school or who are part of that community, like how important that building is, and you're always concerned that they're going to ruin it, right? Like turn it into in Moncton, I find that they're not that bad when it comes to like saving old buildings. Like Aberdeen School, they changed it into a cultural center, and even like Essex School used to be like an elementary French school, Essex School. It's interesting because they could have just torn it down, but from what I read, I think it's turned into a condo building, like, which is better than being like torn down, or better than being put into like a pizza joint. But yeah, I don't know if it's the greatest idea or not, but not a bad one. And so they were talking about turning it into an RCMP station, which is a horrible idea. Like, I mean, no disrespect to law enforcement, I respect them, but any police station is just, you're gonna have just bad people and drunk people, criminals, and there's gonna be graffiti, and they're not going to they wouldn't have maintained like any of the core historical value of the school. They would have just turned it into some horrible, scummy old jail. So they recently, in the last few days, they just said that they're changing it into an arts and culture center. So what I read was that the arts and culture center, meaning there's a beautiful auditorium in there, so they're going to keep maintaining that, and they're going to rent that out to nonprofits. And there's also a gym, a really nice gym in there, and they're going to rent that out to nonprofits. It's weird because what I read was they're going to rent out the gym to like cultural events. So, which is okay, but like, I mean, when that gym was built, like, that gym was rebuilt, right? I don't I don't want to date myself, but people who know what I'm talking about, that gym was rebuilt into what they call a pink gym, and that pink gym was a brand new gym, right? And like that was a at that time, like that gym was like the Rolls Royce of all gyms, right? It was a brand new, new gym, right? And it still is a nice gym. I don't live there, I don't see, but I look at the website and I see pictures, and it's still a well-maintained gym. So I'd like to see that gym still be used for like athletically, right? So like for basketball and soccer and all of those types of things, because any athletic facility, like you can't just let it like sit there to rot. Like it has to be used, right? It's just like anything. Something needs practice, or else it'll just like rust, right? So I'd like to like also see that gym be used for athletic events also. It's funny because here in Newfoundland, at the university that I that I that I'm at now, Memorial University, mine. Their athletic facilities are really just horrible. Really, I'm sorry. I'm just being very direct and honest. And like their facilities that they have here are not only subpar but extremely limited in number. And like if you want to, for example, play indoor soccer, right? If you'd like to play soccer, and if you live in Newfoundland, it's usually winter most of the year. So there's only two places at a huge university to play indoor soccer. One of those places is they call it a green court, and it's basically the inside of the indoor track. So they just like use the inside of the indoor track, and they put curtains around it, and you try to play soccer. And then they only have one gym. So really, a so-called big university like this, it only has one gymnasium. Like I've never like been to any university, even smaller universities, that only have one gymnasium for an entire university of how many tens of thousands of students. And it's almost impossible like to be able to book that gym to play indoor soccer ever, right? So I'm just saying, like, even for indoor soccer, for that Moncton High School gym, like, don't waste it. Like, even if it would be used, like, even for indoor soccer, there'd be so many people, so many soccer players who would just love to play, like, even indoor soccer, right? And a lot of people would pay good money, right? So whether it's like indoor soccer, volleyball, basketball, whatever. So, don't waste stuff like that. Okay. I also wanted to mention too that even though I don't really like live in Moncton anymore, I still have like an attachment or connection to it, because I was brought up there, and so I try to follow them like through different means, whether it's like social media or the internet or word of mouth. And the committee that made that decision to save Moncton High School and turn it into an arts and culture center, like I so commend that committee, because they were so smart to do that. It would have been easier for them just to say, oh well, let's just tear it down and put up Shoppers Drug Mart, right? Or turn it into like an RCMP station or something like that, right? Because it's almost harder to put in all of this extra money to try to repair and restore like an old building, but they're going to save it. And like I know some people on that committee, and like it's a committee that's more experienced. They're an older group. They're an older group, right? It's funny because like when you watch TV, you watch the news, and there's these elections, like these local elections and stuff, and you know, they come up with this story where like this 19-year-old or this 18-year-old or this 17-year-old gets elected for, you know, some political place, and they think, oh well, it's so cool, this young person. Like, I'm sorry, to me, like, I'm thinking, what is this little punk doing there, right? Like, this little punk has like no life experience, right? They don't know anything, they have no like background, they have no real like awareness of the community, awareness of the people, right? So an older group like that Moncton High School committee, like they undertook and they understood like the city and its history and its people and the connection to that building, to the people and culture, right? And looking forward, right? So yeah, all right. Yeah, I think I'm getting better at these video blogs, so I'm just gonna end it here. So just want to say thank you for watching this video. Thank you for watching all of my videos, and make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and yeah, peace out.